Welcome back to the Weekly News Roundup. Just a reminder, this is the last week that we will do Weekly News Roundup on a Friday. We're moving the show to Thursday at 8 p.m. This will allow people who weren't quite sure which show to watch to come on and watch our show on Thursday nights and catch the other exciting things going on by other people on Friday nights. We also will not be releasing these short edited down versions. That is also going away as part of our change. But if I can get it up, many people have asked for it for a podcast version. We will be getting this out in podcast version. It may not be the first week, but we'll catalog to the first week starting next week being episode 1. So we will have a podcast capabilities going forward. I just need to, I'm going to need to work with something in here because all of the good options for generating an open source podcast with various features is, the latest one has been updated about over 3 years ago. So, PHP 7.8 changed since then, a bunch of other security holes since then. Yeah, I don't trust it. So I'm going to have to generate my feeds manually, and just going to need to grab some feed templates, work on that, figure out exactly where I want to put it, and investigate a few other options before I make it fully live. But it will be a podcast sometime this summer. So those that like subscribing, you can subscribe to it. We'll be sad to see you go from the viewer count, but of course, the more we spread ourselves out, then you never know. But anyway, let's go ahead and get on into the news. We will have a little bit longer of a news today, so I'm going to try and move a little quicker through each article. But there was some fascinating robot news, so we had to talk about how the robots are taking over. Well, there's some good news for us if Skynet takes over. We'll get to that. We'll just have to get to that. I think I have that as our third or fourth news section. I think it's our third. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started in with privacy. So Shopify faces a privacy lawsuit for collecting customer data. I want to cover this one because it's very fascinating. One of my clients recently who has a Shopify site contacted me and said, hey, I want to start doing some marketing stuff. Can you handle that? I'm like, yeah, sure. What do we got? What are we looking at? And so he's talking about they added a new plugin. If you're unfamiliar with Shopify, it has all these various extensions. And so he added this extension for collecting more customer data on the checkout. And then it will basically create a customer list for you. And then you can use that customer list for targeted marketing, a number of different things. So I log into the system and he's got like 10,000 names in that contact list, which is a very respectable newsletter list. And I was like, where'd these 10,000 people come from? And he says, I have no idea. Like, oh, okay, let me investigate. So this was actually only a couple months ago. This is probably what this case is about. So I did some investigation. I pulled the list and I did a number of analytics parameters, looked at the number of people who ordered things. So I exported the list of everybody from the store who had ordered items. I cross-referenced that. And indeed, everybody using the Shopify system, everybody who purchased was on that list. Now, there's an option to say, include me in the mailing list or don't include me in the mailing list. I'm not sure if Shopify was respecting that choice or not, but here is what it appears Shopify was doing is because they're using these tracking cookies that follow you around the internet. If you checked out on any Shopify store anywhere in the world, and then you didn't clear your cookies, now Shopify is tracking you around the internet like the crazy techno stalkers always do, following you around the internet. And so what happened now is that if you still have that tracking cookie and you landed on somebody else's Shopify site, this plugin was adding your name to this new site's list, even if you've never interacted with them. So I figured this out and I looked into it a little bit deeper, and indeed that's what was going on. So literally I may have consented to add myself to store A's newsletter list because they sell widgets I'm interested in, but I'm browsing casually through the internet and I land on store B. I'm like, not really for me. And I leave. Shopify still added my name to store B's marketing list. Seems like a violation of CAN spam laws and things like that. And so I saw this come up. I'm like, read through it. And that seems to be what's going on here. Now, what the actual lawsuit deals with is the California privacy protections. A California resident says, hey, I'm on this list from Shopify and I don't want to be because apparently one of the ways that they were doing it is installing a tracking cookie on an iPhone without consent. And then the iPhone tracking cookies is what was adding them through all of these different lists. And so the person in California sues and says, hey, you're doing illegal activity according to California. And Shopify comes out and says, in fact, this is the quote there, the bigger quote down here in the article. It says Shopify deliberately reached out by knowing and installing tracking software into unsuspected phones so it could later sell the data obtained. I'm sorry, that's what the judge found. My apologies. Shopify said, their quote's not in this one. Shopify said, we're not violating California law because we are a global company, not a California company. Therefore, it doesn't matter. Now, also of relevance is that Shopify is a Canadian-born company. They're headquartered in Ottawa. And so they basically said, yeah, we don't abide by United States law, so we're just going to collect every form of data and utilize it all you want. And so that really is what the problem was. My apologies, I forgot that's what the judges said and not what Shopify said. But I'll pull it down to Shopify. It's like, yeah, we're just going to keep doing this because we're not a California-based company. And so this is why we need these deep, comprehensive laws that, unless I've explicitly, I want written paper contracts. You have to hold these on file to have anybody's private information. We need to pass comprehensive laws because I got news for you. If all of these backdoor deal data brokers that nobody even knows they exist don't have your information, shockingly, our data will not leak out on the internet. Isn't that amazing, folks? What if we all looked down and said, okay, there's 5 random companies that might have our private information based on the business that we choose to do with them. Okay, one of those breaches, I guess it sucks for us. But if one of these other guys that nobody knows about, so they don't have good security, their data breaches, and now every American's information shows up somewhere, I'm sorry, somebody needs to be flogged with a wet noodle or something for a while, or maybe something a little harsher. But that's what Shopify is up to, so we'll see what happens here. Ultimately, my prediction is Shopify is going to effectively win this case. Even though they're a Canadian company, I think California will attach them like a leech because a source of money, we need that money, because that's what California kind of needs. Anyway, let's move on over to our next article here is from SamsClub. SamsClub is apparently they have 600 locations in sometime this year, according to the article, sometime this year. And I've never heard of supermarket news, but I imagine they know what's going on in the supermarket world. They are going to have an AI-enabled technology to do away with checkouts, self-checkouts, and regular checkouts, and receipt checkers. They're going to utilize AI and these scan and go systems. So effectively, the scan and go systems, you go in, I think this is the same one like other stores, like I know Giant does it around here, where you go in and you can take the scanner with you and it ties to your phone app. And you just kind of scan stuff as you go in. And the AI in the store is supposed to be able to track you around and determine if everything you're scanning is actually in the cart. Now, a store that smells small quantities of items probably couldn't do this as well, but being as that everything in Sam's Club is massive in quantity, I think it's a better spot. But the ultimate question I have is this actually AI, or is this those Filipino workers that were laid off by Whole Foods when Amazon was caught running their alleged AI Amazon Go stores, was actually just being spied on by a bunch of Filipinos. All right, the true story. All those AI powered things was just a bunch of guys in foreign countries being paid pennies just to sit there and watch these monitors and quote unquote verify the orders. Just all these guys following you around the store on the camera. There was no AI at all. Now, the difference here though is that Walmart actually is a tech partner with Microsoft. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Of course, Walmart and Sam's Club, same company. Inside of this, do I guess that Microsoft's probably going to do a little bit better job? Most likely. Good thing for me is I don't use Sam's Club anyway, so I just call me crazy. I just don't need a gallon of ketchup at a time as a van dweller. I don't think I've used a gallon. I'm not even sure I've used a gallon of ketchup in my life, to be perfectly honest. I have a fun story about that, but that'll be for another day. So anyway, Sam's Club, they are going to be removing all of the checkouts and self-checkouts, relying on Scan and Go, utilizing their phone app. So you're going to have your Sam's Club member card and their phone app and use the Scan and Go. Now, why this showed up here is this is so creepy to me. They get into here, right now over their market test, 1 in 3 people are using those. But now here is what happens, and this is getting creepier and creepier. Members who move and fall out of their usual, I think this is the creepier one. All right. Now that's the creepier one. I think it starts down here. This paragraph here. Sam's Club plans to deepen the customer experience through AI and technology. Okay. I don't want a deeper experience, AI or otherwise. All right. Data will allow the retailer to make real-time connections with members based on preferences mapped through its omni-channel offerings, particularly the app and websites. This will help deliver tailored, authentic marketing to potential and lapsed members, giving them reasons to return or join for the first time, the retailer said. So basically, we're going to use all of this data to explicitly target you more. Maybe we're using that technology LG's using, we talked about last week. We're going to emotionally manipulate you into buying a gallon of ketchup. And then it gets creepier down here. For example, members who move and fall out of their usual shopping routines can receive personalized product recommendations via in-app notifications, guiding them to the nearest Sam's Club location. Geo-targeted alerts can also inform members about upcoming store events. Lord help us. Our phones are like, we have the random Sam's app phone on our store that we have to use if we go into the Sam's Club. Now the thing is annoying us with notifications. Hey, you're driving near a Sam's Club. You need another gallon of ketchup, yo. Jeez. So this is all about data collection, because remember, all of these apps, all they're doing with all of their sensors is they're collecting all of the data, and the more apps you use, the more you are feeding the data centers that utilize their resources to target you with targeted ads. You should use as few apps as conceivably possible. And I got news for you. Most of you guys, half of the apps you can use a web browser on your phone just as well, and it doesn't have the trackers, particularly if you're using something like DuckDuckGo, Brave, or Firefox Focus or Firefox Claw, depending on where you download it from. Those do not even have the tracker capabilities of geo-tracking or other things like that. So Sam's Club is getting a little bit creepy here with what they are doing. Quite exciting. And now we're going to move on over to security news next, where we have several interesting and very novel stuff. The first is a Zoom attack. First time I saw a breach based on Zoom. So this is actually more of a social engineering attack than anything else. So you are probably not as subject to this unless you happen to be a moron. So that's the good news. So the Zoom attack tricks victims in allowing remote access to install malware. Now, there's 2 companies in here. One of them fell for it. The other one was a security company. Like, no, bro. So this guy here, basically, a company comes up and says that we want to work a business deal. So we'll send you a Zoom link, and then they come in and start the call, and they have their camera turned off. They're kind of talky with the camera turned off, but that's okay. Some people work with their camera turned off. And what they're going to do now is they're going to walk you through the call. They get you kind of comfortable. And then last minute, they're going to change their name to Zoom and then request to take control of your computer. So it looks like, for the untrained eye, it looks like the Zoom app is asking for information, or the Zoom app is asking for permission. So you click the button thinking that you're doing something that Zoom needs to keep the conference call going. And in reality, what you're doing is you just let the hacker on the other end of the computer take control of your computer. Of course, once they have control of your computer, they can take control, install malware, and do all sorts of other fun stuff with it. So this is called Elusive Comet, is the group they're going with. And so effectively, they're just getting in there and just doing a social engineering breach in order to do an old school thing. Just, hey, give me access to your computer. You just didn't know it was that easy. All right. And then we have new sophisticated malware. Supercard X targets Androids via NFC relay attacks. This one is interesting, novel, and creepy. This is precisely why I would love to have my credit and or debit cards without the NFC technology. Unfortunately, most cards are going with that technology. I think I have one or two of my banks do. I might start using those exclusively and then telling the other ones, yeah, I'm just not using you until I get an NFC free one. This particular attack, it's really meant to steal the ultimate victim's card, but the way this works, it could, in theory, steal other people's cards as well. So if you do not have your credit cards or debit cards, any of your cards with NFC technology, if you do not have those in an RFID protected wallet, it is possible somebody could have this thing turned on their phone. If they get close enough to you, your credit card could be captured in this. All right. Now, that's not what the article said. Just reading through the technical specs of how this works, this is actually what I believe. And so what it works with is it starts with a smishing attack of some form or another. So they get you to contact them thinking that your bank is texting you. So it starts with a social engineering and a phishing attack. They spam you out. They get you to call the number that they think is your bank. You call up your quote unquote alleged bank. And what they're going to do now is they're going to walk you through logging into your bank account. They're going to turn off spending limits and all these other things. And then they're going to send you a link to a security app that you need to install because, they called you because your security is lapsing. So you need to click this button and install it. When you install the app, what it's going to do is it goes in and turns on the NFC card reader mode. And then what they're going to do is they're going to say, all right, now tap your card to your phone. And so this will clear the security, whatever it is, right? So now the app goes to a control server and it effectively, old school way of, if you remember all of the old crime shows of, we're going to get close, we're going to clone the ID card, right? So they're cloning the ID card so they can go in and, get past the building security with the cloned ID card. This is exactly what they're doing. They are cloning your credit card through the NFC tap to pay system on your phone. The command and control server is cloning your NFC readout onto their particular phone. Now they can go and pay to tap their phone anywhere they want, and it charges your credit card. That is what this does. And that is why, because it's based on this app running, if any other credit card gets close, it could get caught up in this as well. So, and since it's going through the NFC technology, it doesn't flag itself as fraudulent as banks aren't ready for this type of breach. This is like brilliant stuff. Isn't this awesome? By the way, I turn off NFC on my phone. I do not use tap to pay. And I would recommend a Ridge wallet or any other type of wallet you can do that has RFID blocking. And I did test that out. I was at a gas pump and I'm like, let me test this out. Threw the credit card in the Ridge wallet, held that Ridge wallet right on over that scan to pay system, and it will not work. So that Ridge wallet will keep your card protected. I need to get an affiliate link for them or something. I don't know. And on to our last one in security. This is an interesting one. Hackers are now able to send phishing emails from noreply@google.com. Of course, anything dealing with like Gmail or your basic Google account or your security comes from noreply@google.com. Now, not only are they able to get through it, they're able to get through it with DKIM pushed on, which means your app doesn't recognize it as spam. It's not being captured by spam filters. Again, they're just utilizing the free Google services, so Google itself is its own worst enemy. So they come in and they basically create an account with whatever their random system is. Okay, I don't think I had the information on it. I'll just explain it. So I think I read a couple articles on this one. So they create a random account like, my account at domain.com, right? And then they go on to use the Google's domain service, which sets your domain up into Google, and they're going to send you back a verification verifying that your account goes through the Google system. But then what they're doing is they're sending their authorization with the entire spam message through it. So that all passes through, including the part that says no reply at google.com, which allows that domain to pass through the DKIM check. Brilliant. And then they further use Google's other free services, the Google Sites, to set up some fake site with a Google SSL attached to it. Isn't this great, folks? Isn't this great? And so now they're able to send out replies. So now if you get anything from no reply at google.com, be warned, it could very well be a phishing scam. Isn't that awesome? So that is what they are up to. And with that, let's have a look over. Haven't had it for a while. Robot news. All right, so the good news, the bad news is there's been some debate, are robots going to take over the whole future? And people are saying, no, there's some things robots can't do. You would never watch a robot play a sport. Yeah, except over in China, they were watching robots play sports. They submitted a bunch of humanoid robots in a half marathon and had the robots running with the real runners. The good news for those of us worried about the takeover of that guy up there is that none of the robots won the race. They all pretty much fell over. Basically, a fat, chubby dude could outrun these robots. They just weren't doing well. So there you go. I guess Zombieland has a note, only the really slow guys, really out of shape guys, they're going to be the ones taken over by the robot revolution. The rest of us will be okay, right? So there you have it. The robot revolution is coming. This was several different companies participated in this contest to get humanoid robots running side by side. None of them performed amazingly well. There were a few that did okay, but there was really nothing to be super concerned about yet. Now, if Boston Dynamics signed in, they might have something, but even then, I don't know how good they're doing. I don't know. And of course, now the robots are solving the pollination problem, so we can go ahead and exterminate the bees now. We have robo-bees. Wonderful. This is all we need. Tiny little robots flying around. Just put microscopic cameras and microphones on them, and sounds like a Black Mirror episode. Actually, I think that was a Black Mirror episode. Or maybe it was a real thing that already exists. Housefly spies. Kind of like, the old Transformers fans. You had, Laserbeak over there. Laserbeak can fly on into the base and turn on the camera and watch, see what's going on. Massive surveillance. Kind of like the government, So there it goes. Now, these ones are much smaller. You can see the little robot in the palm of their hand. Now, the good news about these ones as well, they only fly like 35 centimeters a second. So that's slow enough. You could slot that thing out of the air. Whack! Get out of here. But imagine that old, imagine doing something like, doing some, I don't know. I don't want to get down that road right now. Nah, forget I said that. I'm going to drive you all crazy. What was he going to say? But anyway, these, robo-bees, they can go over there. And the idea here is to get these guys to be able to pollinate plants. So the farmer would basically come by and, scatter these guys all around, and then they would just go up and pollinate the plants the same way a bee would, which basically means now that you're cutting out the bees even more, right? So it's already been bad for the bees. Now the robots are going to put an end to the bees. So the humanoid robots are going to put an end to us. The robo-bees are going to put an end to the real bees by, taking all their food. Wonderful. All right. So the end is nigh, folks. The end is nigh, I guess. What else can we say? Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do use affiliates. Today we want to highlight DigitalOcean. If you have a need for cloud servers, VPNs, Jellyfin servers, any other cool things that you can do with a cloud-based server. I use it for Nextcloud, web hosting, VPNs, numerous other things as well. You can use my affiliate code tlm.li/DOH. That will give you $200 in credit, good for 60 days to try everything else out. Once you spend $25, you're going to put $25 into my account, which is great because I pay DigitalOcean about $85, $90 a month right now. So The support would be appreciated if you do use these. tlm.li/DOH. Cover all of your cloud server needs. And with that, we're going to jump on over to AI news next. First up in AI news, CharacterAI unveils Avatar FX, an AI video model to create lifelike chatbots. Great! Just when you thought that Character.ai was bad enough, now they're unveiling a brand new one to make its program even more addictive. This is the AI company that is being sued by a couple different people for basically kids are getting in, and it's so apparently lifelike-ish that their kids are kind of getting addicted to it. And the AI is not exactly good influence, as it encouraged self-deletory thoughts, and that is kind of problematic. So I'm a huge fan for banning this type of company. Of course, the reality is that maybe the parents should not be letting their kids on there, but this type of stuff is a little on the crazy side. And so with that, I'm not a huge fan. Now, I am wondering this. Now, of course, the Character.ai is mostly a chat-based system, and Avatar FX is more of like a video type based system. But I'm wondering if Avatar FX is the beginning phases of a rebrand where they're basically going to phase Character.ai out and phase Avatar FX in order to get away from the bad publicity of being a very new company that already is attributed to some self-deletoriness and some attempted self-deletoriness. Lots of bad stuff has come from Character.ai, and that's why I'm wondering if this Avatar FX isn't just a way to slowly shift itself over. So that's my thought. Let me know your thoughts. Of course, we've covered all of the crazy things that happened with that before. Mostly here highlighted the 14-year-old boy created a chatbot based on a character he liked from Game of Thrones. And shortly before his death, he opened up about having bad thoughts regarding himself, and the AI encouraged him to follow through on the act, and he ended up doing so. And so the company is being sued over that. And I don't know. I think I give that one a pretty good chance of actually CharacterAI losing something in that particular case. But it's a big company, so nobody's actually going to be held ultimately accountable. They'll get a big lawsuit against them, a big judgment against them, then we claimed bankruptcy, and then ditch that thing into the pit of fire and then launch forth with Avatar FX. That's what I think is going to happen. But let me know your opinions. That's all an opinion. That's an opinion, just to be clear. And now this is an interesting one because, of course, there's some discussion about, having, making sure that kids aren't on social media. How do we verify them? Which, in my opinion, is all just a giant ploy to get everybody to verify themselves with government-issued IDs on every social media platform. But obviously they don't have to do that because Instagram is using AI to find out if teens are lying about their age. So they're utilizing different AI tools, basically analyzing how people are behaving, comparing it to cross-references and cross-sections of other people that they have inside of their system. And their system is saying, hey, I actually think you're lying about your age, and I think you're probably a teenager, so we're going to limit your account as a teenager. Now, my fundamental question about this application here is that what they're saying here is teens under the age of 16 need parents' permissions to change a number of different settings. And so if you're under the age of 18, you have a parent, or under 16, you have a parent tied to your account. My question for them is, if you're flagging some account is actually being younger than the people are saying they are, and you're putting them into this teenager restricted level accounts, does it automatically attempt to decide who a parent is? Does it automatically add you in? Or do you have this account that's just sitting here nebulously? Of course, you can always prove that you're not a teenager by providing your government ID. Seems a little crazy. But ultimately, they do say they did a pretty good job with this tool of identifying who was a teenager and who was not a teenager and restricting the accounts accordingly. So maybe we do not need all that kind of stuff. Maybe you just need to say, hey, you're a kid on here. Immediately delete the account. but I'm not a teenager. Well, rough for you. Stop behaving like it, I guess. That might mean that most of the American people in this world who all act like children will lose all their social media accounts, and I'm probably okay with that. Maybe the heavy presence of social media accounts might actually be why they happen to fall into that to begin with. So whatever that happens to be with. And on to our last one here. I did not put my proper spacers in here for our news sections. I'm supposed to put spacers in and I completely forgot to. So I think I got it figured out there. Okay. I think we might have one. Yeah, we have one more AI. So this particular person here, he is a Columbia student suspended over a interview cheating tool that raises $5.3 million to cheat on everything. So he used to have this innocuous name called Interview Coder for his app, but then he just decided to change it to the very audacious Cheat on Everything app is now the name of the app. So it has a wonderful spirit behind it. Now they say that Cluely is the name of the company now. So they established Cluely, and then the app system is like Cheat on Everything, or maybe the whole service is called Cluely. I don't know. So they published a manifesto comparing itself to inventions like the calculator and spell check, which were originally derided as cheating. And that's true. I come from an era we were not allowed to have a calculator in schools, of course. And then when I was a college professor, that's around the age they started mandating your fifth graders have calculators in schools. And that really was the year that mathematical literacy completely died in America. Completely died. Because the reality is, if you're relying on a calculator, you do not it completely cripples the part of your mind that allows you to comprehend mathematics. Because if you don't have by memory the basic core, you cannot go on to the more advanced topics. And you might say, well, that's okay, I don't really care. The reality is, though, is that advanced topics in math help you in a lot more areas than just solving random math problems. Now, if you have not read Isaac Asimov's short story called The Feeling of Power, I would encourage you to do it. It's all public domain. You can just search for it. The Feeling of Power, Isaac Asimov. Go ahead and read yourself that story. It is an amazing story about the dangers of calculators in that particular world that he did. So for spell check the same way. I remember when spell check first came out, you'll never learn how to spell. And that might be right. I still can't spell, but spell check works. So there you have it, right? Now, all that being said, they created this system that will basically allow you to cheat in on a number of different things. Let me go ahead and allow these guys here. So the one of them is this one here is
thank you.
So basically, this is one of their advertisements, and he's basically having a chat with a woman, and the chat is augmenting, basically doing an overlay that can't be seen by the person on the other end of the computer. This is like computer to computer stuff. You're interviewing somebody over Zoom. You're doing an exam with a proctor. You're doing that type of stuff. And so what's going to happen here is that it's going to pop up and feed you the answers to things. So in this case, the system is basically trying to figure out what this person might want to hear. And so he's doing, whatever it is. Now, this is like a commercial simulation. So obviously that's not how it's exactly working, but that's what it is. Now, the hilarious part about this is a guy that basically created this very functional AI system, and he raised $5.3 million to cheat on everything. Do you think that this guy gives a darn tootin' if he's been suspended from Columbia over this? Let's see. Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. What are these? Oh, Elon Musk. What do these guys have in common? They all dropped out of school to do real work. So I have a sneaky suspicion that this Columbia student will probably not finish his Columbia degree because why would he? He has investors throwing piles of money at him to work on his project. I think he's going to be okay, but what do you think? And what do you also think about the fact that we now have an AI which is allegedly sold entirely to cheat on everything? That is fundamentally different than the calculator and spell checker. They were not there like, we're going to cheat on everything. No. And on to our last article. OpenAI wants to buy Chrome and make it an AI-first experience. So, of course, part of the antitrust suit against Google, they're saying one of the things that you might want to do is spin off the Google Chrome browser. Of course, Chrome is based on the Chromium open source code by which Brave uses and Vivaldi uses, and every other web browser in the world minus like 4 use. And so there is some interesting incentive. Now, what OpenAI says is, hey, we would kind of like this because we would like to put every single thing you do through your browser as a training method for using AI. So literally OpenAI's plan here is to cram AI into it, but every interaction you do with the browser feeds their AI models. No. I mean, I don't use Chrome as it is. Never used Chrome as a full-time browser. No. So, of course, OpenAI is connected with Microsoft. There's some jokes about that. Now Microsoft will once again control the dominant browser. There you go. Another antitrust suit is coming. But they did actually say in their conversations that they want to have an AI-first experience. The user data flowing to the owner of Chrome could also be invaluable in training agentic AI models that can operate the browser on the user's behalf. Great. So now Chrome is going to be operating itself on my behalf. Isn't that wonderful? All right. Well, with that being said, let's jump on over to business news next. First up, Facebook cracks down on spammy content by cutting reach and monetization. This is a little bit of a crossover with the AI, because effectively what Facebook is doing here is they're saying that Facebook has become a AI slop platform with just nothing but AI glop oozing from every single corner, and it's turning more and more and more people off. So they want to go back to the old glory days of Facebook. One of the things they're doing is they're revamping the Friends tab so that you can have a tab where you only see your friends' interactions, nothing else. That's awesome. So you have that, but then effectively, though, what they're doing is they're saying, yeah, we're going to be filtering out all of this AI spam content. So here we have a company that's like AI. Now they're looking down at their platform and it's nothing but oozing with AI. And they're like, we got to get rid of all this AI. So Facebook basically admits that AI is destroying its entire platform. And I'm here for it, folks. I'm here for it. Totally awesome. Totally awesome. All right. So they admit some of the accounts on the platform try to game the algorithm by increasing views or gain unfair monetization advantages, which results in spammy content flooding users' feeds. To remedy it, it's cracking down on accounts that exhibit certain types of spammy behavior. Behavior includes accounts that share content with long captions alongside excessive numbers of hashtags. It also includes accounts that post content with captions that are unrelated to the content, such as an image of a dog with a caption about airplane facts. So here's this cute dog. Oh, cute dog. Let me read this post. How many people are resharing the picture of the dog without realizing top 10 airplane facts? Here are some interesting airplane facts. What does this have to do with a dog? Maybe the guy with the dog on board claiming it's his emotional support animal. I don't know. Be a SIM-only savior. Could you join the phone users? Now, I actually thought this was a trend that was already going away, and I was sharply rebuked by our guys on our stream last night, or on our off-air hangout last night. Apparently, I'm weird, and I've been weird for a long time. Okay, so the idea here is that the way we tend to buy phones, I guess this is the way people still tend to buy phones, is you go in and you bundle everything. So you basically never own a phone. It's a perpetual lease. You have the phone. It's expensive. It's increasingly expensive. You're effectively just leasing it for the low price of, I don't know, what is it? Like $30 a month, $50 a month, depending on what the phone is. And then you're bundling it with this giant plan. And then the plan has extra bundles. Well, this article from the UK goes in and talks about more and more people are going with a SIM only plan. I am insane. Apparently I am I am way ahead of the curve because I've been doing this for a long time. The last phone I had bundled with my plan was when I ran an iPhone. Was it the 5C? Yeah, it was a long time ago. The iPhone 5C was the last phone that I bought bundled with the carrier. That was going back over a decade. I want to say it was 12 years ago, 11 or 12 years ago. Around that time, I bought off of Amazon. I'm like, hey, let me have a look at one of these Galaxies. So I bought off of Amazon a Galaxy 5, was it 5 or 5 something. Buy that. I'm like, oh, I can just take the SIM card from this and put it over here and it still works. This is interesting. So then I'm like, I want to experiment with Lineage and all these as I was getting into Linux. So I get onto Craigslist and see somebody selling a Nexus 5X. So I go pick that up, which runs Lineage great. I'm like, oh, this is kind of neat. And then I plug the SIM card into that and it works and it's full production. No problems. Works perfectly fine. This is awesome. I've never bought another phone from a cell carrier since. I mean, every phone I've purchased has been Amazon, Craigslist, pawn shops, things like that. You can also pick up phones if you want to use one, verified used, or like a new phone, verified nude, not tied to your carrier. Best Buy is a great place to do that. So you do need to be a little bit more careful buying used ones to make sure that they're not full of malware or bootlegged or stolen phones. There's ways you can check for that kind of stuff. Check the IMEI number on the phone prior to purchasing it. Many pawn shops are really good. Of course, I got the 5X here, or that, not 5X. This is the Pixel 5A from a pawn shop. Prior to that, I picked up, where's it at? Down here. I got this Razr 2 phone, which still works great as well. Got that at a pawn shop. And you're buying these phones for fractions on the dollar. I think I paid $200, $250 for the Razr phone. I paid $120 for the Pixel phone. And I mean, the $120, you can afford that with cash without a big problem. And then you simply buy a SIM card and pop a SIM card into it. And then your phone is not tied to a SIM card. Your costs drop, especially if you use Mint Mobile, TLM.li/MM, by the way, my affiliate code for Mint Mobile. You use that, you can pop your SIM card, get the SIM card in there, pop your SIM card in there. And then you have a prepaid phone line, which works really well. You can tie that to any of your phones that you have that you're picking up separately, and you can cut your cell bill down tremendously. I was paying, I think, $80 a month on Verizon before I switched. Now I pay $180 for the entire year on Mint Mobile, and the phone works just as fine. And I don't have a bill for a phone. I don't have a monthly bill for the service. I pay one time, once a year. It's very affordable. Pick that up, put that into a phone that only cost me $100, but it's a premium phone. And I just use it. Now, I think a lot of the reason some people are starting to reject the mobile bundles is they're way more expensive. And some people are like, I just don't have the money to go in and continue to buy the latest phones. So many people, they're keeping their older phones when they switch up their contracts or change their plans. And that's a really, really good way to go. And so it's a very interesting trend, and hopefully we need to see a lot more of that. Once again, my affiliate code there, it's not I should have put it in as our affiliate today, but TLM.li/MM. And our last story here in business is when FOSS goes bad, or when FOSS goes corporate. This deals with Organic Maps. So Organic Maps is an app that is tied to, it basically utilizes the OpenStreetMaps. I actually just downloaded this yesterday when I heard about it. You can download it from F-Droid. So I downloaded it and installed it on my phone, and it's a lot less cumbersome than OSM and is what I've been using. And I found searching for stores a lot better, a lot easier on it. So that's the good news about it. There it is missing a few features. I'll probably use a combination of both of those map systems going forward for my next trip around the country. So I'm going to have a look at that as I go through. One thing I didn't like about it is I had to download 4 different maps to get all of Pennsylvania. Most states are split into several different maps, whereas on OSM and it's one single download for the map. But the feature it does have on it that OSM and does not have, that is tremendously useful for me because I like to, like when I'm going around and I'm looking around at different places, I kind of want to say, okay, I'm going to be driving through here. Where is there a park that I can stop and see? Well, one of the layers you can turn on is the outdoor mode, and that will show you on the map. So I have on the map here, I pulled it up, and there's just put several dots in here, and I can zoom in, and that will actually show me every trail. Now, OSM and will also show you every nature trail, but you have to be zoomed more in to see them. This shows you all of those trails, even if you're way zoomed out. So, I mean, I know you can't see it because I don't have my camera focused, and the fact we have a green screen, you're seeing right through me now. But you're just seeing this map area there with all these trails, and I'm still zoomed way out. So there's some really cool stuff on this particular app called Organic Maps. Now, the problem is that Organic Maps is all put together by a community of contributors, which means volunteers. They're not actually making money for this. Now, the overstructure, the governance of the company, they created it as an LLC because a nonprofit has a lot of bureaucracy and you have to have a lot more people appointed to make it work. But the problem with the LLC is it is technically a company, and there's very little you have to do if you want to say, we're just going for a nonprofit type LLC to, hey, we would like some money. Well, all of the people who are shareholders right now in the LLC, they're like, hey, we would like to monetize this and make a bunch of money. Meanwhile, there's all of the app is created by a bunch of people who are all volunteers. So you have a bunch of scummy guys at the very top of this who are like, we're shareholders in an LLC. Let's make a bunch of money. We have free labor. Slavery is alive and well in America. I don't know if this is an American company or not, but I'll just use the America. If it's an LLC, I'm guessing it's America. But kind of funny, right? To be clear, I don't know exactly where the company is founded at, but here you have the shareholders who are like, hey, we have all these guys contributing code for free. Let's make money. Slavery. That's slavery. So a bunch of your key developers here, your key contributors wrote an open letter basically saying, hey, we created this because the company we forked this out of went corporate and it just started adding ads and a bunch of other undesirable things in it. And so they're concerned that because the structure is an LLC, there is no requirement for disclosure of funds or how they're being distributed or things like that. And because that's how an LLC works. Whoever owns the company is the only one that has to have access. Now, if it's like 4 people have stake in it, all 4 by law have to have access to all those fundings. Whereas a nonprofit has to make those all public. And so the challenge that the developers contributing for free are having is that we are contributing all of this free code to make this excellent project, but we don't know where the money is going or how it's being spent. We would like to see that. And the shareholders are saying, no, we don't care. We're not going to. So they're basically creating an open letter to encourage them to change their structure to something more like a nonprofit and or at least be a lot more transparent with the contributors for how the funds are being made, and to stress that they do not want to go with any form of revenue-based model, which is going to compromise the integrity of the app. And so that really is what this is all about. And so if you're going to think about creating a nonprofit, you might definitely want to go with the nonprofit route, even though it's a little bit harder to get set up rather than the LLC route, so you don't have an issue with mindsets of the shareholders changing over time. So that's a very fascinating article on this. So with that, though, we're going to jump on over to Silly News next. And first up, Superpower wants to help people detect and address health issues before symptoms appear. Sounds like a very innocuous type business thing. Why is this in SillyVille? I'm sorry, I think this is a vampire company. I'm pretty sure these guys are vampires. All right, let me show you why. Just follow me through here. Maybe I've been watching Interview with the Vampire too much, or other Lost Boys. I'll watch Lost Boys recently, I guess, right? So for $499, so you go, you're handing them $500. $499, it offers a biannual lab testing that analyzes over 100 blood biomarkers across 21 categories, giving people a more comprehensive look at their health than a standard physical does. Members conduct the tests twice a year, either at home or one of their 2,000 partner labs nationwide. All right, so you are giving them blood twice a year and paying them $500. This is a group of vampires. All right. That being said, the other concern I had is there was another company that promised to find all of these things from a blood sample, and the director of that one is in jail right now for fraud. So I'm wondering how much viability this guy has. Was that Thanos? Is that what it was called? We were trying to debate because none of us on our call last night are huge Marvel fans or remembered much about the story. So I know Thanos is like the evil guy in Marvel. Is Thanos also the name of the company that was led by that crazy woman who's now in jail for fraud? So, but I had that question then. But then it gets worse. So Superpower's web app considers results of these tests with past medical records, fitness trackers, and genetics, and uses AI to create a personalized overview of your health to outline any possible concerns. The app then gives you an action plan to take control of your health. So you are using this all as an app. You are submitting to it blood samples twice a year, $500, and you're giving it your medical records, your fitness trackers, your genetic data, and then giving all that to AI. No, that's why this was in SillyVille. This is insane. No. That's how he's a group of vampires, guys. Come on. Are they going to share a jail cell with that lady? What was that her lady's name? It's on the tip of my tongue too. I don't know. But yeah, super vampire. You want $500 in blood twice a year and all of your medical records. No, thank you. All right. Well, up in Seattle, somebody who hates rich people hacked the crosswalks in Seattle to play fake messages. This one's from Bezos. I heard there's also messages from Mark Zuckerberg and one other person. I heard there's 3 of these, but here's one of them.
Hi, I'm Jeff Bezos. This crosswalk is sponsored by Amazon Prime with an important message. Please.
Okay, so, and it goes on for 30 seconds of just Jeff Bezos talking, basically pointing out some of the big problems that Amazon has had. So he's hacked them all to do that. You can find, of course, all of my articles are linked in the description of this video. You can find it if you want to listen to the whole thing there. So now they point out here in the article that this is a problem because people who legitimately need the crosswalks, not just people pushing the button and waiting for the thing to change, but people who are disabled, can't see clearly, particularly visually impaired people, they really have to have these crosswalks working because they will tell you it is safe to walk or not safe to walk, at least based on the light. Now, it doesn't tell you about the crazy psycho who missed the fact that the light turned red and is still barreling through the intersection, so you might still turn into a pancake. But at least you'll know legitimately you have the right of way. And so there is, I believe they are looking criminally into who did this on the basis that this is a fundamental breakdown of the accessibility of the town. So whether or not you agree with the message or not, though, they also had a Luigi the plumber thing to say about it there as well. So definitely a bad thing, although I got to say kind of comical, whatever else. And now, guys, I have to set up the next article before I get there. So this officially starts the next article. There is now a case. You are winning me over. There is officially a case for having a Ring doorbell. Suffice it to say, I didn't want to come to this conclusion, but these Florida residents have showed us a case for a Ring doorbell. Okay. So the doorbell rings and they're like, hey, let's go ahead and check who's at the door because it could be a crazy person. Well, it was a DoorDash, somebody just looking for some food. Yeah, that's an alligator. The alligator went up and rang the bell. And I'm trying to verify, is that an alligator or a crocodile? That is an alligator. Okay. See, on my trip to Florida this year, I did learn the difference between an alligator and a crocodile. So I can spot the difference here. So this dude's got 2 alligators hanging out. At least one alligator. I think the other one might be a dummy. I'm not sure. That thing doesn't move. But that one there is definitely, he's knocking on the door. He's seeing who's there. And we now have a case for getting a Ring doorbell. So if you're in Florida, check that Ring doorbell. If you're in Australia, check that Ring doorbell. You're in Australia, that could be a giant spider looking to sting you and drag you off to its nest. You never know. Down in Florida, it's possibly an alligator looking for some DoorDash. So the internet, of course, there's this SNL vintage land shark. I guess it's some land shark. I don't know. I didn't watch that one. Never been a big fan of SNL. You can hit the dislike button if you like. I don't know. But the spicy comments were glorious. This guy sees a new pair of boots. Very awesome. There you go. Go home, Gator. You're drunk. There's a little gif of Godzilla. Yeah. Go home, Gator. You're drunk. There you go. You're at the wrong door, Gator. All right. This guy, we've been trying to reach you about your car warranty, has gotten ridiculous now. Sending out the goon squad there. Excuse me, sir. Do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior Godzilla? Okay. See, Carl, the humans come, push on this round little thing, and then another human opens the door. Easy dinner. Why isn't it working then? They must be gone to sleep. It works, Carl. I've seen it. If you're cold, they're cold. Bring them inside. And of course, I got to say, I should have grabbed the photo from my photo catalog, but there's a wonderful spot down in the Everglades, down at the very bottom tip. They built this huge boat ramp so they can have like multiple people coming in and launching boats at the same time. Once they built it, 2 giant crocodiles decided it was the coolest place to hang out. So now every day, 2 crocodiles hang out there. As I was actually talking to a former park ranger who was down visiting, but he was a park ranger there. He said 20 years ago when he worked in Everglades, the same 2 crocodiles hung out on the same boat ramp. So they put a sign saying, launch your boat this direction, pointing away from the crocodiles, as if it wasn't obvious. So my favorite caption about that particular thing there, because I took a picture of the 2 crocodiles and the sign, and I just captioned it and said, savagely enforced, So having fun with the gators, that's always a good thing to do down there in Florida. Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do have a Patreon page. You can jump on over there, patreon.com/TOMM. You can jump on, help support the channel on over there. If you do, where's that at? For some reason, interesting. For some reason, our books aren't showing up the way they should be. Something weird is going on in the books, but we do have some books available. Oh, I think what happens there is they added my posts. They added the old posts to that. There you go, down here. You can pick up the audiobook or the EPUB version of Code Red over there on Patreon. If you are $5 a month or up, you can just download them for free. If you're $1 or a free member, you can go ahead and buy those. Not sure why they added all the other ones. You could all go back and buy the old individual short stories from this season as well if you want, I guess. Anyway, join us over there on Patreon, patreon.com/TOMM. With that, thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.